The ancient legacy of the world in religion and mythology represents the deeply ingrained spiritual and cultural beliefs of ancient civilizations, which influence not only their daily lives but also their governance, art, literature, and worldview. Ancient religions and mythologies laid the foundations for many modern religious practices and systems of thought. Here are the key pillars of this legacy. Number 1. Polytheism and pantheons of gods. Mesopotamian gods, Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, Assyrians, ancient Mesopotamians believed in a vast array of gods and goddesses. Deities like Anu, the god of the sky, Enlil, the god of wind and storm, and Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, were central figures in their religious practices. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's oldest known epics, blends myth and history, reflecting the role of divine intervention in the lives of humans. Ancient Egyptian gods. Egypt had a highly developed pantheon, with gods like Ra, sun god, Isis, goddess of magic and motherhood, and Osiris, god of the afterlife, whose myths formed the core of Egyptian religious thought and practices. The Book of the Dead outlined the journey of the soul through the afterlife, demonstrating how religion and mythology intertwined with daily life and death rituals. Greek gods and the Olympian pantheon. The Greek pantheon, with gods like Zeus, Athena, Apollo, and Hera, was a cornerstone of Greek mythology and religion. Greek myths explained natural phenomena, human behavior, and the relationship between gods and humans. The Iliad and the Odyssey, epic poems by Homer, are rich in divine influence and serve as a guide to understanding the relationship between gods and mortals in the Greek world. Number 2. Creation myths and cosmic order. Sumerian and Akkadian creation myths. The Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation myth, describes the rise of the gods and the creation of the world from chaos. It reflects early ideas about the cosmos, the battle between order and chaos, and the birth of humanity. Egyptian creation myths. Egyptian creation myths vary, but a common theme involves the god, Atum, or Ra, emerging from the primordial waters of Nun, to create the world. These stories focus on the cyclical nature of life and the importance of cosmic harmony. Greek and Roman cosmogony. In Greek mythology, the Theogony, by Hesiod, describes the creation of the world, from the emergence of chaos to the reign of the Olympian gods. It emphasizes the order that emerges from chaos, a theme that echoes in much of Greek thought. Number 3. Afterlife and the concept of the soul. Egyptian afterlife. Egyptians believed in an elaborate afterlife, where the soul would journey through the Duat, the underworld, facing judgment before Osiris. The concept of the weighing of the heart determined whether one would enter the field of reeds, a paradise for the righteous. The idea of immortality and preservation of the body through mummification was central to their religion. Mesopotamian afterlife. In Mesopotamian mythology, the afterlife was viewed as a gloomy and shadowy existence in the underworld, ruled by Ereshkigal, the queen of the dead. However, kings and heroes often sought divine favor to secure a more favorable afterlife. Greek underworld. In Greek mythology, the underworld, ruled by Hades, was a place where souls of the dead traveled. There were various realms such as the Elysian Fields for the virtuous and Tartarus for the damned. The journey to the afterlife was often influenced by the moral deeds of individuals during their lives, reflecting Greek ideals of justice and virtue. Number 4. Rituals, sacrifices, and religious practices. Sacrifices and offerings. In ancient religions, sacrifices were made to appease gods or seek their favor. These could range from offerings of food, incense, and valuable goods to animal sacrifices. In Mesopotamia, Kings often performed sacrifices to ensure the prosperity of the state, while in Egypt, offerings to the gods were a daily part of temple rituals. In Greece, animal sacrifices were central to religious festivals, such as the Olympic Games held in honor of Zeus. Temple worship and priesthood. Temples were central to religious life in ancient civilizations. In Egypt, the temples were dedicated to gods like Ammon and Horus, and only priests could perform the sacred rituals inside the temples. In Mesopotamia, temples like the ziggurats were centers of worship and political power, often overseen by a high priest or priestess. The Oracle of Delphi in Greece was another example, where the priestess would deliver prophecies believed to be inspired by Apollo. Number 5. Mythical heroes and legends. The hero's journey. Many ancient mythologies focus on the hero's journey, a narrative structure in which a protagonist undergoes trials, receives divine aid, and ultimately achieves a great feat. Examples include Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, whose quest for immortality and friendship with the wild man, Enkidu, is central to the Epic of Gilgamesh. Hercules in Greek mythology, known for his 12 labors, which were divine tasks that tested his strength, courage, and endurance. The Trojan War, Greece. The Trojan War, as depicted in the Iliad, is one of the most famous mythological events. The myth of Achilles and the Trojan horse has had a lasting impact on Western culture and concepts of heroism, fate, and warfare. Number 6. Philosophy, morality, and ethical teachings. Moral lessons in myths. Ancient myths were often moral stories, used to teach lessons about human nature, the importance of piety, respect for the gods, and the consequences of hubris. Greek tragedies, such as those written by Sophocles and Euripides, often explore themes of fate, justice, and moral dilemmas, using gods as instruments of human destiny. The ethical code of the gods. The ancient belief that gods imposed moral and ethical codes on humans is evident in texts like the Code of Hammurabi, which contained divine mandates for law and justice. In Judaism, the Ten Commandments were believed to be divinely ordained ethical guidelines, laying the groundwork for later Western legal systems. Number 7. Influence on later religions. Hebrew religion and Christianity. The religious traditions of Judaism, especially the ethical teachings found in the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament, deeply influenced Christianity, and later, Islam. Christianity inherited many elements from the Jewish tradition, including monotheism, the concept of a covenant, and the notion of divine justice. Buddhism and Hinduism influenced much of South Asian spirituality, with its elaborate pantheon of gods and concepts like karma, dharma, and moksha. Buddhism, originating in India, offered an alternative path focused on enlightenment and the cessation of suffering, borrowing some elements from Hindu cosmology but evolving its own distinctive worldview. Number 8. Art and architecture of religion, temples and shrines. Egyptian temples, such as the Temple of Karnak, were grand structures designed to honor gods and serve as places for royal and religious rituals. Greek and Roman temples, like the Parthenon in Athens and the Pantheon in Rome, celebrated the divine, often in the form of architectural masterpieces. Iconography and symbols. Ancient religions were rich in symbolic representation. Sumerian, cylinder seals. Egyptian hieroglyphs, Greek, pottery, and Roman sculptures depicted gods, myths, and religious rituals, reinforcing the centrality of religion in public and private life. The ancient legacy of religion and mythology is a tapestry of complex beliefs and narratives that shaped human civilization. These traditions have profoundly influenced art, culture, law, and the development of religious thought, continuing to reverberate in modern spiritual and philosophical systems.